Dane Elkins was born on the 8th of April 1999 and resided in Brentwood, California. Growing up, Dale was a good student with lofty aspirations. He had a passion for racquetball since his childhood, leading him to take up the sport professionally in high school. Although those around him knew he was talented, all were taken aback by how good he actually was. His talent in the sport was exceptional, and Dane went on to win 23 major national junior racquetball championships. He was also the second person to compete in the USA Racquetball National High School Championships and win all three number 1 gold divisions. On top of this, Dane loved an active lifestyle. As well as racquetball, he was also a black belt in karate. Off the court, his family meant everything to him. He was extremely close to his mother Deborah and enjoyed a good relationship with his 3 younger siblings. Even with everything going on in his life, he would never miss a birthday or family event. Those who knew Dane would describe him as outgoing and funny. He would often make silly music videos with his siblings. He was also someone that was very generous, often going out and helping the homeless. It seemed Dane Elkins had an incredible future ahead of him. Unfortunately, it would all go wrong. Come 2020, the 21-year-old was now an engineering student at the University of California in Santa Cruz. It seemed at this point there was nothing out of the ordinary that would hint at what was going to come later. But nothing about that year was ordinary, and in 2020, like most of the world, California would go into lockdown. As people were forced into seclusion to stay safe, Deborah Elkins began noticing a change in her son. With nowhere to go, Dane would often spend all day laying in bed. But as night fell, he would disappear. When Deborah, who was worried about him at this point, would question where he was going, he wouldn't have much of an answer, often just shrugging it off. Dane wasn't doing well being isolated. He'd started talking about moving into an apartment or camper. At one point, she said he told his family he was staying with friends, but this wasn't the truth. Elkins was actually living out of his car. It seemed at this point the young man was struggling, but there would be more worrying signs to come. Just months before his disappearance, Dane made a Snapchat video on how there were targets on his and his parents' backs. In the days leading up to his disappearance, Elkins had become more and more mentally distressed. At this point, he'd been driving back and forth between the family home in Brentwood and his university in Santa Cruz. On December the 21st, 2020, Dane called his mother from the highway and said it wasn't safe to come home. He explained there were targets on his back and her life is also in danger, explaining there's targets on you and there's more targets on Dad. It seemed Dane was breaking down and she urged him to come home. That would be the last time Deborah would speak to her son. He would never return home. Later that evening, Dane called 911 asking for their help. However, he refused to provide a reason when asked. But when authorities arrived at the location near Interstate 5 and Templin Highway in the area of Castaic, California at around 8:20 p.m, they found his abandoned car with his wallet and cell phone still inside. One of the tyres was flat and the other 3 were very low on air, but there was no trace of Elkins anywhere. For his mother and the family, the signs were worrying and a frantic search would begin. Once the police got involved in the investigation, they organised several search parties and combed through the areas Dane frequented. Deborah said that on her son's drives back and forth between Brentwood and Santa Cruz, he often stopped to camp near the area of Bakersfield. Volunteers and law enforcement descended on the area but found no sign of him. Helicopters and sniffer dogs were also brought in to assist in the search, but all to no avail. There was absolutely no news about the 21-year-old's whereabouts, and his family began fearing the worst with each passing day. As the months passed with no sign of their son, Dane's family used social media to reach out to the community for information on his whereabouts. A Facebook group searching for Dane Elkins with more than 3,000 members was launched to help with the search. Deborah in particular took to social media to spread her son's story and to get his face out there. There have been some reported sightings in California, including one where a woman said she brought him food at a Taco Bell in Oakdale. In another sighting in April of 2022, a mother and son were approached by a man who looked like Elkins on the Santa Cruz wharf. For his family, the irony is heartbreaking. Dane used to help feed the homeless. Now they're searching for him amongst them. Deborah Elkins is asking the public not to call her son by name if they see him, because it could trigger his paranoia. Instead, she hopes people will be kind and offer food and call law enforcement. In addition to this, anyone who believes they have spotted someone who might be Dane is encouraged to take a photo of the individual and send it in via email, which will allow the family to better determine if it actually could be Dane before passing it along to investigators. While the family believes he could be somewhere between Brentwood and Santa Cruz, it's very possible he could be in another state. As of 2025, Dane Elkins remains missing and his case unsolved.